put Lyd On It. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you all for joining. This particular webinar it speaks to me, right? I'm all about self-care. And, I believe it's a necessity. I don't think it's a luxury. I think it's a necessity to take care of ourselves, especially as women and entrepreneurs. We're taking care of everyone else. And it's important to take care of us. So I'm so excited about this webinar and excited about my guests. We have the beautiful Toni, Jacalone, our registered dietitian, who is going to talk to us about taking care of our bodies and eating right and storing energy, getting energy. Then I have my wonderful, beautiful friend, Rochelle Gapere, happiness expert. And I had to remind myself she's also an amazing attorney, but a best-selling author. And I'm so grateful you ladies had decided to join us and share your experiences and your expertise with our guest today. So welcome. Thank you so much. I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to throw it out there to whoever wants to answer first. How important is self-care in entrepreneurship, or just in general, overall?
I mean, I can't understate the importance. At the end of the day, if you're not healthy, then nothing around you really is healthy or will thrive or flourish. So we can't pour from an empty tank. And I believe the healthier we are is the more successful we'll be. Also, the more productive we'll be. So yes, I can't understate the importance of self-care, putting ourselves on our calendar, and really just prioritizing our well-being.
Awesome. Toni, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Literally took the words right out of my mouth. And we've all heard you can't pour from an empty cup. That's so true. And self-care, it's so important to remember. It's not just your mental health, it's your physical health as well. Nourishing your body, making sure you can show up every single day and have energy, and to work with your clients and be there for your clients. It's just, if you're not there, you're not present, you can't be for your clients.
So on that note, I think different people have different perspectives or perception of what self-care means. What does self-care mean? We know it's important, right? What does it mean? What does it look like? I'll start with you.
Self-care, yeah. Sorry. So self-care to me, it means a lot of things. I like to think of in a holistic point of view. My practice is very holistic, so I think of our physical health, our mental health, community around us, just everything that makes us whole, really. So to me, self-care is making sure that all of those things are being taken care of. It might not be every single thing every single day, but making sure that we're prioritizing the things that need the attention when they need it.
Awesome. And so you, as a registered dietitian, you focus on the physical. What are some of the challenges and I guess barriers that you see that your clients face from a physical perspective?
So many. I mean, one, obviously as a dietitian, most of the time people are asking me, what do I eat? Right? What do I eat to stay healthy, I focus on fertility, so mostly my clients are asking about getting pregnant, but self-care is like the foundation, right? So a lot of times it's, what do I eat? What do I eat for energy? I'm falling asleep during the day. Maybe I'm brain fog. A lot of times, we can't think straight, overwhelmed with everything and trying to keep everything in its place. So sometimes it's sleep. A lot of times, I always ask clients, what kind of sleep are you getting? How much? Is it quality sleep? Another big thing is stress. Stress has a huge toll on the body, and almost even more so than nutrition. And it's funny, as a dietitian, people are also like, well, but you focus on food. I'm like, yes, but stress has such a huge impact that it almost always takes a second or stress always comes first, almost always. I'm always asking my clients, how are you addressing your stress? How are we decreasing our stress? What are we doing to address that? And then we'll focus on the nutrition. So
you talk about stress, and that's something, it resonates with me because a lot of times as women and women entrepreneurs, we're so on top of things, right? We have our to-do list, we check things off, and we think we're okay. But then we're not sleeping right, or we're not eating right, and we're wondering why. So can you talk a little bit about how we can identify when we're stressed, even if we don't recognize it right off the bat? What are some things that should trigger that we if we should pay attention to?
Yes, that's a really good question. So a lot of it really just learning to listen to your body, like learning to recognize when you get overwhelmed. And like a lot of times for me, it's the decision paralysis. To me, that says I'm stressed. I can't even make a simple decision, Another times it's energy levels say say a lot about your body and stress. If you're falling asleep in the middle of the day, maybe it's time to take a step back, and see, am I stressed? Is this my body's way of telling me to slow down? Other things, heart rate is a big one. If you find yourself just all of a sudden anxious, anxiety, a lot of people deal with it, anxiety, and that's a big one, obviously. Just really learning to listen to your body. What is my body telling me? Does my body telling me that I need more sleep or that I need to slow down? Your body has a way of showing you the signs, and it's different for everybody. So it's really learning, like, what are my body cues telling me?
Okay, I want to come back to listening to your body. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Rochelle, when we talk about you as a happiness coach, and I'm so excited that you're on here because as women, right? Remember, most of my audience here are mostly women entrepreneurs. As women, we're told we're too emotional, keep our emotions out of it. But when we think about happiness, that's an emotion, and it's a good emotion. So what does it mean to be genuinely happy? And not just that the emotion of, I'm either angry, I'm sad. But generally content and at peace. Let's talk a little bit about that and how important that is to your mental and overall well-being.
So, let me start by saying happiness it's fluid, and each person has their own definition of happiness. And so you just answered, when you asked the question, you pretty much said what happiness is to me. Happiness is peace. Happiness is contentment. It's feeling good in my body, feeling good about my life, feeling good about my goals and the direction I'm heading in, right? So most people, they have a different definition, but nobody ever really stops to say, what makes me happy? Mm-hmm. And if you can't define what makes you happy, then how will you even know if you're happy? So that's one of the things I start with my clients. What makes you happy? What does happiness mean to you on an individual level? And so many of us are getting our happiness cues from external factors and not really tuning in to what it is that makes us feel joy or contentment or peace, right? So what does that look like for you? Spend some time really navigating that definition. And then I would dig further and ask, what is your happiness score on a scale of 1 to 10? How happy are you feeling right now in this present moment? And over the last couple months, how have you been feeling? So start measuring that. Pay attention to the days where you feel your happiness. What activities were you doing that made you feel happier than not, right? Also, make your happiness list. And what does that look like? For me, happiness looks like spending a day at the pool with a good book, going for a run, going for a long walk. What is on your happy list? So I always say to my clients, what's on your happy list and how often are you doing those things? So what I really want to stress in this answer is that it is deeply personal and it is your responsibility. Nobody is responsible for your happiness but you. And until you get very clear on what makes you happy and start implementing those things in your life on a daily basis, then happiness will continue to evade you.
I love this. I love this so much. So two things that both of you guys said kind of go together. So Toni, you mentioned listening to your body, right? And taking that time to listen to your body. Rochelle, you said taking that time to identify the things that make you happy. Key thing there is time. So how do we make the time? Remember, we are business owners. We are trying to grow our businesses. Some of us may have families that we're raising or providing for. How do we find time? How do we prioritize time for ourselves?
So I'll start with this one. I think the number one thing as an entrepreneur that I've learned to do for myself is to say no. And so no is a complete sentence, right? And it's not saying no from an egotistical point of view, or I don't need that, or I'm rejecting you. No, it's no. Each time I say yes to something, I'm saying no to myself, right? Each time you say yes to something, you're saying no to yourself. We all have 24 hours in a day. So you have to be very intentional about how you're spending your time. And so when you think about how much time you may spend passively looking on social media or just doing busy work, things that really are not giving you any return on investment. And so I am a huge advocate of a morning routine. As you open your eyes in the morning, you have to set the tone for your day. And that means playing offense in your day as opposed to playing defense. And so a morning routine could look like not picking up your phone. Too many entrepreneurs, as soon as we pick up our phone, as soon as we wake up, we pick up our phone. We're looking on our email. We're replying to text messages. But no, you need to wake up, center yourself. Meditation is very, very helpful, even 5 minutes, and just give yourself time to be. Pick up a journal, write in the journal, flow, get into that creative space, because you're always thinking, but what are you thinking about? Are the thoughts that you're thinking beneficial to your business, to your livelihood, to your lifestyle, to what you're trying to accomplish? So setting those healthy boundaries, that morning routine, protecting your time, protecting your space, protecting your calendar. And I'll tell you, even now I'm going through burnout to some extent, and I had to just take a step back and ask myself, okay, what's really important? And I have learned to say no to so many asks, interviews, boards to sit on. And then I redirect them to another woman who is just as capable and who's probably starting her career, and people don't really necessarily know about her yet. So I will give the opportunity to somebody else who I believe is qualified, so that I can then spend my time and my energy on the things that I know are of utmost important to me, because once this day goes by, we literally can't get it back, right? So we have to be very intentional about how we're spending our time.
Okay. I love that. I think another thing about not finding time or saying yes to so many people as entrepreneurs is this part of mindset of like scarcity, right? Like you just said, I will send you to someone else. Whereas maybe sometimes the challenge is, well, I can't say no to business right now, or, and so I can't say no to this person because, so I thank you so much for pointing that. Let's talk about a little bit about that like a mindset of scarcity and those alternatives to you, partly not accepting an engagement. And then Toni, I'm going to go to you in a second to ask you about how do we find time for nutrition. So Rochelle, just really quick, just to kind of dive more into that about this, another barrier, another challenge is I'm as an entrepreneur, I can't say no. What are your thoughts? What would you say to that woman who says, well, I can't say no to business right now, so I have to do this?
Okay, so I can understand. Of course, you're in business to make money. You need the money to pay your bills. So what I will say is that you can learn to outsource or delegate. And so, for instance, there are services. You could go on Fiverr and have somebody to work for you. You could go on Upwork. So listen, you are one human being and you only have a certain bandwidth to do things. So what I'm saying is not that you're saying no to business that's important to you. You're saying no to the things that are busy work, that are just filling up your calendar, because ultimately you only have a certain amount of energy. So you're going to have to be very intentional about how you're spending it. So for me, I'll use myself as an example. I have now learned to outsource some of the things that I just know I'm not good at. It doesn't make sense for me to spend 7-8 hours trying to figure out, my website, when that's just not my skill set. My skill set is coaching and writing. I know what I'm good at. And so I will say this, as women, we tend to want to take everything on our plates. You don't have to be good at everything. You don't. And so the time that you outsource and delegate is a time then that you could use your resources to focus on the things that you're good at. And so when everybody operates in their own lane about the things that they know they're good at, everybody thrives, right? So I will give my work to a graphic artist instead of trying to do certain things on Canva for myself, because I'm just not a graphic artist. But, we'll think about, but I'm going to have to pay that person. Yeah, but your time is also money. So that hour that I'm spending, or those 3 hours that I'm spending, when I think about the time and the money that, that equates to by doing it, the $1,000 in the 4 hours or the 3 hours, I could have easily paid $150 for somebody else to do it. So we have to just be very practical about how we view resources. Money is a resource for sure, but your time is the resource that you absolutely can't get back.
Right. And I love this little shameless plug. So I am going to be doing an episode on delegating. So that is phenomenal. Thank you for plugging that in, Rochelle.
Yeah.
So then you talked about we only have a certain amount of energy per day. So that takes me to Toni, because Toni, I love your approach. I mean, you're about, how do we, it's not about just, the weight on a scale. It's what brings you energy. So let's talk about that, the importance of eating right to have energy. And then for those, the same question I asked Rochelle, what would you say to somebody who says, I don't have the time to think about nutrition, I just need to grab something really quick to eat in between meetings? What do you say to that person?
Yeah, that's a very common struggle. I usually bring it back to, obviously we're talking about priorities and self-care. And so I, go back to, we can't pour from an empty cup. And if we are not there mentally and physically, we can't be there for our client. So maybe it's time to take the small baby steps to prioritize health. Because if we don't prioritize it now, you might be forced to prioritize it in the future. You don't want to be in that position. So, and it's not, it's all about baby steps for me. It's not like we don't need to do some super restrictive diet tomorrow. That's not going to help us in the long run. So taking a step back and thinking about what are the small baby steps that I can do now that are going to benefit me in the future. So it's taking down the overwhelm, first of all, and we don't have to do everything tomorrow. Health is not about, there's not one, superfood that's going to bring you from zero to health, tomorrow.
You mean kale doesn't do that? I thought it was kale.
Yeah, as much as I would love if it could, right? I mean, if it did, we'd all be in a much different place, right? So that's, big thing is just taking a step back, realizing that we don't have health tomorrow. Another thing is, I think a big thing is rejecting diet culture, because that's what diet culture teaches us, is that there's some superfood out there that's be the answer for us. And it's really not the case. So a lot of it is addressing, what are my food issues? What are my food rules? Where do they come from? Who are getting this information from? And then, what can we take out? What food rules can we just get rid of? Let's take out the food rules. There's no food police. I'm not the food police, right? So a lot of times this just takes away the stress of eating healthy and being healthy, and realizing that it's not that complicated. It shouldn't be that complicated. It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be stressing you out. So if your diet and your weighting, your health, whatever plan you're on is stressing you out, something's wrong there. Let's address that. So just, thinking about when I think of food, how does that make me feel? I don't want people to be stressed out when they think about food. I want them to be happy and joyous. Food is, eating is a joyous occasion. So try to bring that back for people. Let's bring that back. Let's bring back the joy of eating. Let's make sure that what we are eating is giving us energy. Do I have energy throughout the day? Let's make sure the food we're eating, we're enjoying it. Why are we eating some boring kale salad, like you just said? What if I don't even like kale? So what are the foods that I enjoy? What are things that I can prepare for myself? What are some things that I can do ahead of time? Maybe, like you said, a lot of people say, I don't have time to eat during the day. I just want to grab something quick. Well, maybe, the night before, maybe there's something that we can prepare. Maybe I can, have a bag of carrots that I can eat in the car on my way to my next appointment, thinking ahead and getting in that mindset of how am I going to nourish myself today and tomorrow, and just taking those little steps, thinking about how can I nourish myself well, and what am I going to enjoy? And, just getting that mindset of listening to your body. It's all about learning to listen to your body and what is to nourish me both physically and mentally.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing and what I'm loving about this is that here we're talking about the mental health, happiness, and things like that, and then the nutrition. And it seems like both you guys said something that's very key is paying attention, being present, right? So Rochelle, you said like one of the tips is paying attention to certain things that make you happy. Like what are the things that make you happy in this given moment or whatnot? And Toni, you're saying paying attention to what you're eating. Is this giving me energy? Is this making me feel bloated and stuff like that? So really paying attention. And those are things that don't really take that much time. I'm so sorry, Toni, I'm seeing that you're frozen. I want to make sure you're still there. Toni, Okay, so hopefully we can get Toni back on. Rochelle, I want to ask you the next thing, because when I think about the challenges of people being able to take care of the mental health, emotional health, and when Toni gets back, we'll talk about the physical health. Time is a huge challenge, right? I know I'm guilty of it. Sometimes it's just super busy. I stress eat a lot. The other thing I notice about, people, the challenge people have with self-care is the guilt. The guilt of why, I can't be taking time for me because I had to take care of my partner, I had to take care of my kids, I had to take care of my clients, take care of my parents, whatever it is, the guilt. Do you see that a lot? And what are some ways that we can navigate and kind of get out of that mindset, feeling guilty about taking care of ourselves?
Yeah. So, I typically say that quite often, ultimately, we keep going back to the same point. You cannot serve others if you are not healthy and if you are not operating from your highest potential, let's say, right? And so as a mom, you are a better mom for your children if you're well rested, if you're well nourished. You are a better business person, a better manager, a better boss if you are feeling healthy and if you're feeling well rested, right? So where it comes to the guilt is, and I say it, when you think about yourself laying on your deathbed at the end of your life, how do you want to feel? What's going to be important to you then? Are you going to say, oh, I wrote 10 pages of some article? Or are you going to think about the time that you spent with your best friend and your wife or your husband or your partner or your children? So it's really about prioritizing what's important to you. And so many of us are like delaying our happiness, delaying our joy for this future happens that may never happen, right? And so if today were your last day on earth, how would you want to spend it? How would you want to spend it? Would you want to spend it worried and upset about something in your business that didn't work out? Or would you have the perspective to say, okay, it didn't work out. How do I find a solution? And what else can I do in this scenario to bring me some joy, right? And so life is truly about our perspective. I always like to bring the science into it. We have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. And so you have to start thinking, okay, are these thoughts serving me? Because thoughts become things. So are my thoughts serving me? Me thinking negatively, is it going to make the situation better? What is the best case scenario in this problem that I'm having now?
Right.
And so does guilt serve you? Does guilt serve you? Yes, to some extent, maybe guilt can force you to look for different solutions, but staying in that space of guilt, there's really no real benefit to it. So I would say as entrepreneurs, and we're human beings first, before I'm a lawyer, before I'm a happiness coach, I am a human being. And so I have to stop and think, okay, when I'm spending my time and my energy, are these things making my overall well-being better, happier, more healthy, or are they detracting from those things? And so only you as an individual can make that decision.
Exactly. Perfect. So Toni, now that we have you back, I'm not sure if you heard the question. So I was asking, or we were discussing rather, the challenge that people face when trying to take care of themselves. One is time, right? Not having enough time or feeling that we don't have enough time. And the other is the guilt, right? How dare we take care of ourselves? So I wanted to know your thoughts on that and how, do you come across that with your clients in that industry, and how do you navigate that? How do you kind of, get your clients through that guilt of taking care of themselves?
I do, definitely. Yeah. I think it goes back to being women, right? We're taught to just put ourselves on the back burner, and we just have to learn that prioritizing ourselves is what's good for everybody around us as well. Mostly for our families, but also for our clients. Like you said, we're business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We have to be there for our clients. That's how we make money. So, just resetting that mindset of instead of guilt, it's I'm doing this for me, and that's also for everybody around me. Me serving myself is going to benefit not just me, but everybody around me. Me taking care of myself is not just, but also I just reject the idea that it's selfish. It's not like, it's not just for you, it's for everybody around you.
Right. I love that. You're absolutely right. And we have to kind of get over that hump. It's like a self-inflicted, challenge that we're giving us. All right. So next question, because we're talking about taking care of ourselves and setting our boundaries and stuff. So what would you say to, let's say, a client, right? Or the kids or their spouse and stuff? What would you say to them in terms of, hey, we're trying to take care of ourselves here? Because, they're out there, they're listening to us too. And even us, we're trying to take care of ourselves, but, are we being mindful of other people who are trying to take care of themselves? So, what are your thoughts on that? And what would you say to that client or that spouse, that partner, that I want to say kids too. Some of them are old enough to understand. I don't know. But how can we communicate that to those people who probably don't know that or don't recognize the need for self-care?
So do you want me to start or okay? So I was going to say, ultimately people treat you how you let them. And so you have to be the keeper of your peace and your well-being. And so that's in every instance in life with clients, friends, family. And so just like how you would put a meeting on your schedule, you should put me time on your schedule. Your friends, your family, if you tell them I have to walk into a business meeting, they respect your boundaries. If you say I'm going to be on a phone call from 1 to 2 o'clock, like right now, nobody's calling me right now because it's on my calendar, right? So I schedule me time on my calendar. It's roll time. And so during that time, nobody can disturb me. And so I understand, yes, I'm single, I don't have any children, but for the mom who has children, you could put 10 minutes on your calendar, you designate it your time. And so whenever anybody tries to infiltrate on your time, you remind them, hey, remember from 7:30 a.m. to 7:45 a.m., mommy is having her meeting with herself. And so children become what they see. And so when you start creating healthy habits for yourself, your children, they will witness that, and they will also create healthy habits for themselves. Because ultimately, we are teaching people how to treat us. So if we can't reinforce and enforce our boundaries for us to operate at our highest level, then why would anybody else respect it, right? And so that calendaring your time, and that's an exercise I give to all my clients. Where is the time on your calendar for you? You must honor that time like you would a client meeting, going to court, whatever it is, scheduling with your dietitian, with your personal trainer. You must honor that time for yourself.
That's a really good point, because even I felt guilty of that, or even I've attempted, to put things on a calendar for myself, but then when it comes up, I'm like, oh, it's okay, I'll reschedule that, because I got to do this. So, just being really disciplined and treating it as you would treat a client or whatnot. Awesome. Love it. Toni, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I go back to as well. I even have it tattooed on myself. It's one of my mottos, is be the change you wish to see in the world.
I love it.
I love it.
Exactly. And that's exactly, the people around you, they might not understand it at first, but they do see it. And people learn, children model the behavior they see from their parents, and even spouses and friends. They will begin to see that, oh, she's setting healthy boundaries, right? Maybe that's something I should do. And look, she's thriving because she's doing that. She's learning to say no, and she's thriving. Maybe that's something I can do as well. So while they may not understand it, it may take a while, they will get it, and they will see that it's a good thing.
Awesome. So when we think about the self-care, I'm not going to use the word selfish, because I know it's not. I want to reject that, like you said, Toni. Right? Let's reject. It's not selfish, right? But it is something related to self, right? And I'm kind of going back to one of the things I said at the top of the webinar is, what does self-care look like? And I know both you guys said, it's different things to different people. What are some of the most surprising ways, or that we can take care of that self-care? Like for me recently, somebody posted a question on one of the Facebook groups I'm on and said, what are you doing for self-care this weekend? And I said, I'm accepting help. Because that's one of my biggest challenges. It is a struggle for me to ask or even accept help. So what are some of the surprising ways or, non-traditional ways that we can take care of ourselves? Because I think most people think of like, oh, let me go get a massage, let me go sit on the beach or something like that. And those are all great. I love a massage. I'm not knocking massages. So if anybody wants to send me a gift certificate, that's it. But what are some surprising ways or some non-traditional, simple ways that we can take care of ourselves?
So,
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, because one that I love, and it's so easy, it breaks up my day. 2:00 p.m., I have 2 p.m. dance off. And so I choose a song that I love and I dance in my house. It breaks up the monotony of the day. I used to do it in the office as well. Dancing and movement, of course, increases your endorphins. So it gives me that energy burst. And the good thing about music is that there's so many songs you could choose from. I choose songs that remind me of a happy moment in my life where it takes me back to a space where I feel good. And so I turn on the music, I dance for those 3-4 minutes. It gets my energy up, my dopamine levels shoot up, my endorphins shoot up. And it's such a simple thing to incorporate in your day because I've actually told friends to do it. And so I know I'll have a friend in London dancing, I'll have a friend in Jamaica dancing. And it's almost like we're all just setting that out in the universe. It's free, it's easy, it's accessible. I can always, free, easy, accessible means to happiness, to joy are major keys because you don't want to have to spend $200 on a massage or have to go on a trip or whatever. You want simple things that you can incorporate in your day-to-day, right? And so if you're at home with the children, you dance with them. It makes it fun for everybody. Right. Yeah, and so we need, as entrepreneurs, we need to start infusing our lives and our day-to-day lives really with more happiness, with fun. We forgot how to play. We used to play with our children. Most of us aren't playing anymore. We need to start playing again because it activates those creative juices. It gives us ideas. So, I can't, understate the importance of just playing and having fun again. Where all of us are just really taking life way too seriously these days. And we just have to bring the joy. We have to bring the joy. Right.
Especially with the pandemic, it's, and everything that's going on, I definitely don't want to take that for granted or kind of, I guess, water down anyone's anxieties and stuff. It's real, but absolutely that there are little small things that we can do just to bring small moments of happiness that add up, right? And so two things I'll say. I'm so happy that you agreed and cut into your 2:00 dance off. And I also feel that at 2:00, we're going to have a whole bunch of people just like dancing. I know I'm going to be dancing at 2:00.
Yes. Choose your song. It actually started with an ex-boyfriend and I. He lived in DC and I lived in Miami. And that was one of our ways of connecting. It was, you choose a song, I choose a song, and we both dance in our office, then get back to work. But it was so cute. It made me feel good. And I've been doing it for years now. And it really helps.
Nice. Well, I'm in Barbados, so I'm going to put some Riri on and I'm going to dance to Riri. So if anybody's wondering what I'm going to be doing at 2:00 is dancing to Riri. So, Rochelle, talking about, little free things that we can do. And so it leads me to a question I have for Toni, which is one of the challenges that I think people have with nutrition, including myself, is that, when we think about a salad costing $18, whereas a burger is like $2. What are some ways that we can take care of ourselves, eat healthier, and that probably won't break the bank? So are there any, is there anything like for free that we can eat?
Maybe not free, but it's really cheaper. If you go to the grocery store and you look at the cost of fruits and vegetables, they are actually the cheapest items in the store. By the pound, if you know what I mean, by ounce. So it's important to remember that, cooking from home, not just going out and getting, like you said, the dollar burger. Yeah, it might seem cheaper in the long run, but it's not. It's remembering, if I don't prioritize my health now, I'm going to be forced to prioritize it later. So what is this costing me really? Not in terms of what I'm spending in this moment, but what I might have to spend later in life. And so also just remembering, like I said, fruits and vegetables are the cheapest items at the grocery store. Let's learn to get back to cooking from scratch. you know, making family meals and taking the time to cook together, spend that time together, cook fresh foods. You know, what can I make tonight? Like, what's a new meal? What can I make tonight? What's something we've never done before? Maybe we're going to do a ratatouille, right? That's like all vegetables. So, you know, thinking of those things, what are the small changes I can make towards a more plant-based lifestyle? Really, that's what it comes down to. I'm, you know, a big proponent of plant-based. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to give up meat. I'm not saying you can't ever eat meat again, but fruits and vegetables are this, like, that's what I always go back to. How can we add more fruits and vegetables into the diet? So, you know, maybe looking at, am I only getting in, you know, one fruit a day? Am I only getting one vegetable a day? How can I make that better? What are the small steps I can make? So maybe it's just adding another vegetable into my lunch. Maybe it's adding in another vegetable into my dinner. Okay, let's go to the grocery store. You know, what are the fruits and vegetables I enjoy, right? Like I said, if you don't like kale, you don't have to eat kale. What are the ones that I enjoy, and what meals can I make from that? And how can I slowly build more fruits and vegetables, more whole grains, more fiber, you know, just making little smaller, better choices every single day, baby steps towards the big goal.
Got it. So let me ask you this, what would you say is more important? Is it the frequency in which you eat, the portions you eat? What if we can make one small change today, what would be the first thing that you recommend, that you suggest for somebody to do?
Well, it depends. You know, we've been talking about energy a lot, right? Energy levels throughout the day. How can we be present for our clients? So one thing that I usually go back to, like you said, one thing that we can do today is making sure that we're eating throughout the day. So I go by the rule of threes. Try to eat every 3 hours, 3 meals a day, 3 snacks a day. Are you going to get all those, you know, in every single day? Probably not, but at the very least every 3 hours. And then in those 3 meals and 3 snacks, all 3 macronutrients: carbs, protein, fat. And that way, what we do with that, yes, we have carbs in there. Carbs are not the enemy. Carbs are our friends. Carbs are our brain food. Carbs are how our energy, or how brain gets energy. So we have to have carbohydrates in there. But when you pair them with protein and fat, that helps your blood sugar stay level throughout the day. So we're not going to have these lows, these highs, you know, our energy isn't going up and down all day long. We keep our energy level steady. Our blood sugar stays steady throughout the day if you combine all 3 macronutrients. So we're eating throughout the day. We don't let our energy levels dip because we haven't eaten in 6 hours. And then we're also keeping our blood sugar level. So rule of threes: 3 meals, or every 3 hours, 3 meals, 3 snacks, all 3 macronutrients.
Awesome. Okay. So being an entrepreneur, we're in office. The good thing about, I don't want to say the good thing about the pandemic, but, you know, working from home, right? So, you know, maybe, you know, trying to take advantage of the fact that you do work from home and can go to your kitchen really quick and do something. So those are very good things to know. And so my next question is, as entrepreneurs, right? I actually had one of my first webinars. My first webinar was about work-life integration, right? Because I think we fall into this trap about like work-life balance, like one or the other. And it's like spend 3 hours on, you know, personal stuff, 3 hours on work, but realistically, like finding ways to kind of integrate the two. So when we think about work-life integration and think about nutrition and self-care, what are some ways that we can actually integrate self-care into our business? So not treating it as this separate thing that I have to do outside my business. What are the things that we can do within the business? Off the top of my head, I think sometimes when I work with my clients, sometimes I work with like, you know, mindset, or like, and, you know, I ask them every month I meet with my clients, and one of the first things I ask is like, what are you doing to take care of yourself? You know, to get them to think about it. So what are some things that we can do as entrepreneurs when working with our clients to integrate our own self-care with our business and our clients and our customers?
So meaning, is it that you're asking what we're doing within the meeting or on our own, separate from our clients?
Yes.
No. So of course, I'll start by saying separate from my clients throughout, you know, I take little minutes of joy, right? For instance. And so the dancing, I'll dance. I will stop, shut everything down for a minute, and I'll do my breathing exercises. I inhale, hold for 6 seconds, exhale, just to steady myself. Another thing I like to do, I love to read articles on happiness and joy and positive emotions, because not only am I learning, but those are also making me feel good. I'm subscribed to Medium, and it has excellent articles by everyday people sharing their stories. So I'm learning and I'm being curious, because curiosity is important. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we stay in our own lane and we're just doing the thing that we know we're good at. Oh, I'm an accountant, I'm just going to do accounting. No, but you can learn from the farmer in wherever, or you can learn from the ski champion in wherever, right? So I believe in keeping that creativity going. One thing I do implement with my clients, though, is gratitude. A gratitude practice. As we are talking about all the woes and the troubles and everything that's going on, I will stop them. What are you grateful for? And you can almost see in their faces, what? We're talking about my problems and my business. Why are we talking about gratitude? Because it is so easy to overlook all the things that are going well in our lives. And so when you steady them and you put them on the spot, but what are you grateful for? Yes, your secretary quit. Yes, you didn't finish your deadline. Oh, you didn't get that project, but you have the lights on. You have your brain that's still working. You can still be creative. And so it's, gratitude on a whole for all of us is so important. We must start focusing on the things that are going well in our lives, as opposed to all the things that are not. And so that's one thing that I love to incorporate with my clients. And you can tell, all of a sudden it's just like, okay, it's not as serious as I thought it was. Right. One thing being bad is not reflective of the entire life. My kids are alive. My wife is healthy. So it really puts life into perspective. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Gratitude is so amazing. My favorite quote. I was with you when I heard it with Susan Taylor, that gratitude makes everything you have more than enough.
Exactly.
And so I mean, that's a whole nother webinar we can talk about gratitude. Okay. So Toni, we're wrapping up, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So I want to finish with some last words that you guys want to leave our audience with. Like, what are some things that we can implement, things that we can think of, things that we can do today to start taking care of ourselves from your respective things? So I'll start with Toni, since we just heard from Rochelle.
Yeah, so we already talked about, Rochelle already mentioned the morning routine. I think a morning routine is something that everybody can implement. And research shows that all the most successful people in the world do specific things in the morning. I don't know if you guys have heard about the miracle morning. I just discovered it in December. It's amazing. If you've never heard of it, go research it. Yeah. But there's 5 things that this guy who, he set out to research, what do all the most successful people do? And these are the 5 things that almost everybody does, like a combination of these things. So the first is silence, meditation. Second is affirmations. Just like we talked about gratitude, telling, yourself, what are you good at, affirming the things in your life, right? Third is visualization. So maybe creating like a vision board. I have one on my phone, on my computer. You can put it up on the wall. The next thing is exercise. Taking that time for exercise, even if it's just 5 minutes. I know. Even if it's getting out and walking your dog for 10 minutes, even if it's just, doing sit-ups in your office for 5 minutes, whatever, start small, work your way up, but taking the time for exercise and physical health. And then reading, Rochelle mentioned reading, I think, right? Yeah. Reading an article, reading even just for pleasure. I like to do it before bed. I read 15 minutes before bed, gets me into, sleep mode. And then the last is, I said silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, journaling. As well. Yeah. Getting out your thoughts. And then in that journaling, I always like to add in gratitude as well.
Love it. And I just want to specify that when you say reading, doesn't mean reading Facebook posts. Okay.
Exactly. Reading of actual paper. Yes. So that's one thing, a morning routine. I think it's super important for everybody, but especially as entrepreneurs. The second thing is time blocking. We're talking about taking the time out for self-care, literally time blocking self-care. block out your day, block out, okay, I have a, meeting with a client for an hour, and then I'm going to dance for 20 minutes. And then I have a meeting with a client, and then I'm going to eat for 20 minutes. I'm going to eat my snack, and I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to, be mindful of the food that I'm putting into my body, and it's nourishing me. And I'm thinking of how grateful I am to have this food, right? All the things, and just time blocking, taking the time out, but literally going in your calendar. If you have a written calendar, you write it down. If you have a Google calendar, you put it in your calendar, you block out that time just for you, for your self-care, and creating those boundaries. It's, it works both ways. It's self-care, it's creating boundaries, it's saying no to things that might go, want to go in that time. So that's the other thing, is time blocking.
Love it. Love it. Rochelle, what would you like to leave our guests with?
I'll piggyback on everything she said. She summed it up perfectly. What I will say, other than those things, is that take time for yourself. Take a vacation. And when I say a vacation, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to jet off to Greece.
Right.
Even if it is just taking a day off to unplug and just going to the beach, or checking in a hotel downtown or somewhere in your city that you've wanted to experience. You must take time for yourself. Bill Gates has this thing where he calls it a think week, where he unplugs, he goes in the forest for a week, and he just lets his creative juices flow. And so many of us are just being bombarded by so many external messages about what society says we should be doing, about how we should be spending our time, that we're really not being present and being totally honest with ourselves about what makes us happy, why we started this business, what our intentions are, what is our purpose, who do we want to serve, how do we want to feel, what are our goals, right? And so I am a huge advocate of just taking that time, unplugging, and one day is not going to kill you, and you'll be surprised. You come back feeling more rejuvenated, you feel more energized, you have new ideas, and you can think even, with more clarity. So yes, put that vacation on your schedule, even if it's one day, but you must put yourself first. Yeah, Project You is important.
Project You, I love it. I love it. And you're absolutely right. I so many scenarios where, my clients are just working really, really hard, and then they take some time off and they come back and like, oh my God, like I came up with all these ideas and clarity. And so where it seems counterintuitive that you're taking time away from work to be better at work, it actually makes a lot of sense. So, so thank you so much for that. And I told you, I knew it. We're going to go over. So we're going to go over. I'm going to be mindful because I know it's almost 2:00 and Rochelle has her dance off, and I want to go dance with my Riri. So I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank you, two amazing women. I pray for your utmost success in everything that you do. And we have your social media tags present on here. So anyone listening or watching in, and they want to reach out to you, that they can reach out to you and say hello, and you could be there for them and stuff. So thank you, ladies, so much, and we will be
Thank you.
for joining.
Let's
Happy
go
dance. All right. Let's go. All right. Bye.
Bye.